Hello again, Tim. It's me. This is going to be a rather long info dump, but I don't feel bad for it because you obviated some of what I had put before now that you have updated your file. I'm flattered that you took some of my advice to heart, and I see a lot of my suggestions and your changes, which makes me feel pretty good. I was even flattered by you including my name in the byline on the bottom. That's nice. Thank you. So we're going to go up to the top again. I'm going to very lightly cover, including some of the changes, because it's kind of a fresh document with some of the changes that you made. So, well, let's just get into it, shall we? Okay, there are many fantasy RPGs, but this one is mine. Yeah, I like that. So that is, yeah, the suggestion I recommended. Hello there, my name is Tim. I've been playing RPGs since early 1990s. Yes, I tip my hat to those. Impressive. I'd probably I'm going to suggest some changes in the editing on how to more impactfully put those sentences together. But you know, you have the gist of it, and I think that'll be fine. So the intro I always find is an unheralded part of any RPG, but it's an important one because it brings the reader to a certain mindset. If they're going to have a rough time of it because it's going to be very complicated and crunchy, there's usually some hint of that early on when you're reading the intro. If it's going to be conversational and light, that also is often portrayed in the intro. So, however, for your atmosphere, we might almost want to start off with creepy, like, "Hi, I'm Tim, and I'm going to cut out your eyes and drink your blood." But we'll skip that part. I do like some of the descriptive text that you have added, which is good. And yeah, like I said, you've incorporated a lot of my suggestions, and that's cool. But the nice thing is I like to think that you're keeping as much of the stuff that is you yourself. This is a kind of a partnership a little bit, but as an editor, I the small voice. You're the big voice. Introducing RPGs, widening that out was good. Statistics and stats that you haven't juggled around yet. That's fine. Still adding 1 point to a single random stat. Still hate that. Yeah, that needs to be changed, I believe. Unless you really are in love with the randomness, in which case there probably should be something in the world that stops people from developing as they want to. Like if... I'm not saying it can't be done, but, for example, if you say that everybody in the world is pledged to a particular god, and that when they hit a certain level, they have to prostrate themselves before the god, and the god will give them a random blessing, because that is the way the gods work. They are capricious, mindless, and mad. That honestly would explain all the random, and you know, it's a way of playing. I don't think it helps your game, though. I really don't. It's dangerous and deadly enough that you can let people pick and, you know, concentrate on the things they want to improve. So just some thoughts. Stat modifier chart's still fine. What the stats do, yeah. First appearance, 7. Constitution. I see you got rid of some of the burning stuff, I believe. I don't see it anymore, which is good. Oh no, I take it back. You still have burning options. I don't like the idea of introducing that as early, but that's fine. So your attributes haven't changed that much, which is cool. You still have some artifacting. If you've cut out the power, you still have it. For example, mage power points equals intelligence plus power. I still see a couple of things referencing power points. So if you were going to take that to heart, you have a little bit to hack out yet. Not a drastic amount, but you know, it may change some of the formatting you have, but I would get rid of it, honestly. Like I said, I think it just strengthens your game. It increases the amount that you're going to be rubbing up against that need for sacrifice and exhausting yourself and diminishing yourself in order to get what you want. So I would recommend doing that. Languages are cool. Magic item attack damage rolls are fine. That's something that is more uniquely yours, which is cool. Interesting thing, most magical items I would think should probably exhaust one of your attributes, including your intelligence, as you go temporarily mad trying to invoke the arcane. So it's a fair trade-off that they actually, if they have an accelerated intelligence, that they can actually leverage that in their use of attacks, which that's cool. Mage spell damage bonus, that's cool. Saving throw suggestions, fine. Cultural languages, your languages should probably be their own section, not underneath intelligence, I would say. And then you would be able to reference the page that you're eventually going to have them on. I would probably have that in a fleshing out section, for character creation. So I would put the languages there, as well as your description. But it should work. Luck. Luck is always tricky, because you already have an element of luck in dice rolling. But having a statistic for luck basically means it's a catch-all for, really, if it's going to cost you to survive, a lucky person is going to have a bit of a bigger window, but it shouldn't be an infinite window. As that luck diminishes, as they are taxing from it repeatedly, pushing their luck, as they're literally burning their luck, then the costs are going to accelerate for what they do. Almost an interesting mechanic is that the smart adventurer adventures for a little while, and then when he starts to feel the pull, when he sacrifices too much, he gets out. Depends on the thrust of your world. If it's desperate, if adventurers do what they do because they absolutely are desperate to pull off some end or some aims, then they'll keep going as long as they can. But if their whole thing is they're just adventurers a la Dungeons and Dragons with their own set of goals, if they're out to get rich, they should retire after a couple of good scores, if that's a possibility in your world. Okay, so luck. Luck is a fun one. I'm fine with the resurrection thing for luck too. Add to your chances of coming back. You know, it's better to be sometimes lucky than healthy. Yeah, that's fine. Strength. All the strength stuff is right out of classic roleplay 101. That's fine. The important thing for sacrificing from your strength is the thought that you are purposefully diminishing yourself by overreaching. I think people who are going to end up burning their strength are the ones who have to do something overly dramatic outside of the bounds of their character. That should be, for the most part, the thing that they really, burn their strength for, because what does it represent but their character literally going beyond the bounds and ruining their potential in the future. Burning your wisdom is essentially going mad with the next section. And wisdom has always been kind of a tricky statistic in role-playing games, because for some it's perception, for some things it's common sense, for some things it's intuition. All of those things, glommed into one. So, you're using it for all of the typical things. I'd like to dialogue with you and find out why you have wisdom under defense. I mean, I understand there are some justifications to it for certain classes that have a kind of a sixth sense about avoiding danger. I'm just kind of curious about that. And also, we'll keep going. We're just glossing over this. We're already 15 pages in, just about. You still have all the stuff for burning, so either you didn't get to there, or you didn't think that my suggestion for that was that apt, which is fine. These are just suggestions after all, and you're not paying me as an editor to oversee your project. Nor am I your publisher. So, I think there are other options which we'll discuss when I do give you actual real edits, suggested edits that I will be giving you. Section on dice and dice rolling, still there. Again, I would probably leave those mechanics towards when you're actually preparing to use them, as in creating your character or talking about the combat. Just a thought. Because it's sandwiched right now, it's kind of lost. You go along, then you have the section on dice mechanics, and then you go on to, you had statistics, and then you're going on with more statistics. So it's kind of lost there a little bit. An average of the character's constitution, dexterity, and strength stats are added to movement. Okay. I must have missed that before. I must have, which is dumb of me. I would say adding together the bonuses of those stats might be better. It won't be as big of a number swing, but honestly, if you're talking about a person who is fast compared to a person who is slow, it's not that big of a jump in the short range, typically. I mean, you're talking about a lightning quick difference if somebody has, high stats. It also means you're just using simple math rather than averaging. Some people don't like that. I generally tend to stay away from a couple of things in character creation: quadratic equations, averages, and using formulae. Just makes it easier on people. So I would stay away from that and just have the addition of all of the bonuses from those numbers, perhaps. Saving throws 1 plus luck plus, yep, that's fine. Okay, character generation. This is where I would put the bid on dice mechanics, because now you're going to be using those dice. That's just how I would do it. So. Excuse me. We will cover very briefly the... obviously, you've got some formatting issues now. There's big empty spaces because of what you've changed, and you're going to change that. You're going to fix it. It's not a problem. Quite honestly, you having them is nice, but for a review/edit copy, all the pictures and everything are, I'm not going to say counterproductive, but, unnecessary but nicer to look at. Plus, I'm curious about where you got some of these pictures. I'm kind of jealous. A couple of them. Okay. I don't think you've made any real changes from the bit I scanned over to the races, which is fine. That's going to be more involved, figuring about, how things are balancing. I do note, however, that you still have the power, you have PowerPoint still in there, so if that's something that you have decided to eschew, then you've got some work to do there. But that's a work in progress. Your time is precious and you haven't had enough time to do that, and that's fine. So we're just going to skip past the stuff on races, because I've already talked about the changes that I would suggest for races in my first video. So that's cool. Cultures, I like cultures as far as better, almost as much as I like backgrounds. As far as giving you a language, now this is where you should have languages. In a brief bit, about the different languages that are available, and then this is your culture, this is your language, these are the weapons and things and things like that. If you come from this place, you will have affinity for these weapons. That's fine. It's very kind of, I don't want to say if it's overly generalistic to say if you come from this place, you're going to be good with this. Like you're from Underhill, which would give you a +1 Dex or +1 Wisdom. I like that choice. It's one of the things in 5th edition for customizing characters that I like, and you pulled it out of there. That's fine. The Hillish language is fine. But to say that everybody from Underhill is better with bludgeoning and small ranged weapons, why? You know, I'm not saying it's a bad choice. It's just, why is everybody from there going to have these as their preferences? Balancing that is also a little tricky too. For example, the tribal cultures having a +2 to slashing weapons and a +2 damage with large melee weapons. Does that mean with large slashing melee weapons they get a total of +4 damage? Does that stack? That means a high strength person with a high strength warrior with a greatsword is going to be devastating. Absolutely devastating. So it's all important to think about how these things are all going to continue to stack up. I don't have a problem with devastating players, but you know, something to think about. And also again, how you value languages versus combat effectiveness. I generally, for things like that, I favor a buffet style. I know 5th edition is kind of, with their backgrounds, they've kind of made it more concrete and fairly obvious in how they balance everything. It's all quite well balanced together. As far as what you've got on your plate, it's a little different. Balance-wise, I think there's some people who are going to say there are clear winners and clear losers in the choices. So, just things to think about as you rework and edit and scratch things out. We'll go into more detail on that when we get to the proper edits. Classes. First level players get to choose a class. Yay. One other question. Does a first level character get an advancement because they are first level? That would give a little bit more customization to your players, making them different because they have a different advance already. But you have to think about how that affects your power levels. Just something to think about. Do you get a free advance? And, well, we'll talk about that in a sec. Okay, so clerics, divine channeling, performing miracles. I really like how clerical miracles are not spells that have cut and defined rules. What are you willing to sacrifice to get your thing is a wonderful mechanic. I like it a lot, especially if you have thirsting gods who only honor sacrifice. What do you give them? Including the options for sacrificing stuff, stuff of value to you. Concentrating sacrifices in like really holy incense, for example. If you burn that gives you a sizable boost. Gives you the option to have non-magical magical items that still have value to the characters. So, just a thought. I'm very impressed with what you have. This is one of those innovations that I'm really glad you've got in your game, and does separate it from a lot of the others. You should own that. It's good. Average weapon damages, cool. Lesser ranged weapon damages. I like that. I like how clerics are not good at ranged weapons. That's fine. What is a large ranged weapon, though? Is that like bows? Long bows or large heavy crossbows, maybe? No, either way, it's fine. Small would be like slings. 1d2 is funny, though. 1d2 with a sizable dexterity, though. The dexterity does more damage than the actual weapon is capable of doing means that, you got a David and Goliath scenario. It's not the bullet that kills you, it's how accurately it's placed. Fine with that. And the weapon ranges are fine as well. It does mean, though, that when you have bonuses to hit and damages to hit that are going to vary based on size, one important thing to note, you are really pigeonholing. Just to say it. Unless you have substantial benefits for things like shields, which I think you do. But if you have substantial bonuses for say, large two-handed weapon with a particular class, race, combination, what have you, you are swinging the population of people who will take advantage of those bonuses, because people want to have effective bonuses. So you are changing the behavior of your players for doing that. Just bear that in mind. I'm not saying it's bad. Just know that this is going to happen. It's a natural, expected activity of your players is to flock to where the bonuses are. Advances are fun. One thing I have learned from looking at the Pathfinder 2 beta, they have advances in things that have a point value system. It's a good idea, because the stronger bonuses are the ones that are more likely to get picked up, but you may have to save up for them. Just a mechanic to think about. Maybe that'll work. I dislike random. You've heard me say this before, but I would get rid of the random and let people pick. I would also put caps on how many times some of these skills can be taken. Like for a cleric, getting the +1 to attack bonus for melee, a +1, I would say maybe every 2 or 3 levels. Keeping it kind of like the to hit bonus progression for Dungeons and Dragons. It has so many times. But with your system, it has an opportunity for somebody to say, bugger getting better with weapons. I want to be better. I want to be able to resurrect somebody. Huzzah. Although I would probably say you can't get this until, say, 5th level or some power level. The cleric advantages, too, are a lot less robust than some of the others. There's going to be some balancing issues getting your advances to work. There's going to be a couple that I could recommend. Most of them are going to include getting a rapport with the gods. And I know you've got the Blood of the Martyr for healing, but that's an advance that's basically a spell. So if you're going to have any kind of opportunities for healing through clerical magic, then that's an advance that's almost pointless or redundant, unless it can be used at the same time that they are healing somebody. Like, I can heal you, but I can really kick it up a notch if I take some damage and I can restore you, wounding myself, but really making sure that sacrifice is hammered home. So we're going to talk about this in the edits too, but that's just my feeling, is that the cleric has some pretty weak advances compared to others like the fighter, and Blood of the Martyr could be redundant with spells. Bruiser would be a good one for fighters too. And the healer's a good one. Pain tolerance works, but yeah, fighters are good at too, of course. Shield others is a nice one for support, but I would say there's a couple that probably you should have a couple other options too, like something that's going to help you to channel your spells. If you can focus on being melee based, you should also be able to focus more on things that will help you. And since you got rid of, if you're getting rid of power points, having one that, say, allows you to drain somebody else. Yeah. I want to cast a spell. Come here, fighter. What? Draw power and It's an option. There's a lot of them. I'm going to have a lot of suggestions in the edit. So, but right now my impression of the cleric is that the advances are weak, even if they have some neat abilities. The fighters are ridiculously powerful. They're a power class in this game. Without knowing exactly what can be done with the magic, just looking at it objectively, the fighters are really, really awesome. The attack bonuses that they get on top of any advances that they get through the advances are, that can be really overpowering, depending on how difficult foes are to hit. Remember, you're only dealing with a 10-point range here. So a 5th level fighter, for example, say he's got an average strength of 12, 13. Well, let's make him a dwarf, because his average then would be a 14 or a 15. So he's got a +3 to hit. Plus 3 or +4 to hit. So he has a +4. He's 5th level, so he has +5, or +4, because of all those advances. So that's +9. And say we're going to go back to Great Axe. It's a fun weapon. So say they come from that place that gives a +2 to slashing weapons, +2 with large weapons, so that's +4, +4 because of strength. And they're doing 2d6, two-handed, so it's 2d6 +8. And for large, that's an extra +1 to hit. Do you see where this math is going? It's really climbing to the point where you're going to need a fighter to take on anything that has a really ridiculous armor class. That is going to freeze out everybody else from contributing to that fight because your numbers have climbed so much. Just something to think about here. The numbers probably should be juggled for balance if you're going to play through this. I really like Blood of My Enemies. It's kind of neat. More and more damage. It's awesome. Taking damage to do more damage is good. An extra attack. If somebody uses that extra attack, which again probably should be held off until higher levels, a 5th level, say, and I would say no more than 1 extra attack because you're really looking at crazy effects. Again, try to imagine the worst that could happen. Even an average dwarf, again, a 14 or 15 strength. If he's, from that tribal land that uses +2 for slashing and +2 for two-handed weapons, using a great axe, total of 2d6 +8, doing that twice, and almost guaranteeing a hit unless they roll a 10. Even against things that are really tough, something with a defense of, say, an 8 or a 9. That's nearly impossible to hit for a common schmuck without any statistical bonuses or anything. Or, are you going to really start your to-hits? Things are going to have an average defense bonus of, a 10. So that you already need bonuses just to have a chance of hitting. This is a mechanic that's going to take some real juggling to make this work, especially when you think of how it's going to be stress tested by players. You don't want the game that is known for being broken at, say, 2nd or 3rd level. We already have people who can't be challenged, or our glass cannons can absolutely annihilate everything as long as they get to hit first, but because of the deadliness of your game can't survive the, there's got to be a balance in there, is what I'm saying. And we'll have to work on that. As far as mechanics go, though, well, you're lucky you got me. I'm good with mechanics. Okay. Favorite enemies, I'm fine with. That shouldn't just be a ranger thing. Getting bonuses to hit. Again, you're adding bonuses to bonuses to bonuses. The numbers are going to get kind of crazy. This is one of those things that you should almost get an Excel sheet. A spreadsheet that can, plot, and so you can play with numbers and see how crazy and broken it can get. Just from what I'm seeing here, the numbers are pretty crazy and broken. So they'll need some work, but it's doable. I mean, this is very fixable. Brawler grappling. Yeah, a fighter who takes, things like brawler and with my bare hands is basically a monk by that point. So they are, just as deadly with their bare hands. Then, yeah, in my mind, they've gone in a different direction from being your classical fighter, and that's pretty cool. Definitely cool. Now, you may want to have a greater range than just 10 advances, because then you could go off and have fighters who do work on the art of martial arts more so, and giving up weapons, things like that. Fighter major wound. You do not bleed an extra blood point of damage or suffer additional pain penalty when you receive a major wound. Major wounds, fun. That's good. I would give them a saving throw, though. And if you already offer a saving throw, which I suggest, then giving the fighter an extra saving throw in case he fails the first, or something like that. It needs a new name too. Fighter major wound is not good. That can be fixed. Fighter parry. Parries are always kind of a tricky thing. There's not a lot of games that do it well. Dungeons and Dragons doesn't do parrying particularly well. But it's I don't know. It's a good concept. I like the idea of parrying. It fits. It's appropriately cinematic for a fantasy role playing game. I think it might need a little work. It's going to be a lot of shuffling into the system to make the combat mechanics really hum. But when it does, I think it'll be really good. Range damage increased. Bump it up a die step. Yeah, that's cool. Somehow still standing. Continue to fight even when other characters would have fallen. It's a fight ability. Some of these are really allowing you to not have to have like barbarians. You can have a fighter that is more barbaric, and something like Somehow Still Standing fits in nicely with that theme. You could go with an entire sidebar of anger and rage and other things for fighters too. Weapon damage, a flat +4 additional damage per hit. Again, think about your dwarf. Your tribal dwarf with the great axe. You are now looking at a minimum of 14 points of damage per hit. Yeah, so that is... When I think about the numbers game, you always have to think about the worst possible scenario, the biggest that you can do. This is a non-magical weapon, non-magical average strength dwarf using the weapon that's appropriate for him. You're talking about, if you get that advance, that's 14 minimum damage plus 2d6 minus 2 added on top. So you're talking about blows that can do 20 points of damage a shot. Would have a very high chance of hitting with the system as it currently is. So things to think about, definitely. Adding on flat raw damage probably isn't something that is particularly attractive without some reason for it. So your one where you smear your weapon with your blood and give yourself a bonus it fits your setting. It's solid. Just giving a flat doesn't help you much. Also, it's kind of unexciting. Weapon damage. Well, that can be improved. With my bare hands, I love it. I like it's a good idea. Mages. Well, we got PowerPoint still. We knew that. Random spells. I don't like that. We already discussed that. Oh, actually, yeah, we did. So, yeah. Mages need some work. Mages need some tweaking and a little love, but it'll be fine. Colors of magic, I'm cool with. I like the colors of magic thing. Still do. Extra spells is kind of a weird thing that needs a little work, I think. Unless you are channeling divine madness, and all mages are tied into the you know, the Lovecraftian pantheon, for example, and they are divinely inspired by mad gods and stuff, and that gives them extra power. Okay, I'm fine with that then, but I don't know. It's a little weird. Again, we're talking about a completely different kind of mage than Gandalf and the fantasy mage from Dungeons and Dragons. We're talking about basically a cultist or sorcerer or witch. Hunter-gatherer for mages? Odd. I suppose that fits with the idea that a wizard is just a fount of information about all kinds of things, including herb lore, so that they would be able to recognize edible foods and stuff. Hunter for a wizard, that's kind of a stretch. That would be something that, you know, fighters, or make that a general advance that anybody could get. Wouldn't be a bad one. PowerPoint increase, that's gone. Saving throw bonus, saving throw to everything? That's kind of an odd one. If you need an explanation of why that would be. For example, if they learn a basic word of defense, they can utter something and instantly protect them when they're startled or have to resist something. Then I could see it, but as is, it's kind of weird. Saving throw bonuses could be renamed, obviously. Abjure against the unholy, or what have you. But yeah, those kind of bonuses are perfectly fine. Spell burn points I like, giving you a pre-made buffer against the sacrifices that you would make for your magic. Cool. It forestalls the inevitable, sort of. Also, with this exhaustion thing, having an extra pool of exhaustion would be in-fitting for the character. And basically, it's a way around your power points. So, but I should never let it get too big. You know, it should be very seldom where people feel they have throwaway magic. Take the magic seriously, because it's unholy and unclean, and you will pay for it in the end, probably. Rogues, jack of all trades. It's kind of neat. Lucky bastard. Again, I don't like the term, but nor do I like the ability to just burn any attribute. That's kind of silly. However, here's a thought. If somebody is going to be burning their luck attribute to save themselves, if they're a rogue, let them roll against a d20. And if they can manage to roll, if they roll under, no. If they roll under their luck, they burn it. If they roll over, they don't. That way, as somebody who starts out with a high luck will find their luck dwindle quicker till a point, you know, it's break even. Whereas somebody with a low amount of luck, the fact that they're a rogue is all that's keeping them going in some cases. It'll eventually drop off. As a thought for small, medium, large weapons for a rogue, maybe have the small ones do more than the large. Just as a thought, you know. They don't know how to use large weapons, so let's take their large melee weapons and drop that down to, you know, the levels that a wizard might use. But their small one-handed weapons, let's crank that up to, you know, a D8. So all of a sudden they are deadly with daggers in their hands. It fits the theme. It fits the character type. Ranged is fine, though. A bow doesn't really care, you know, who's firing, and it does X amount of damage, and breaking beyond that is only for those who really know how to use them, and warriors obviously could have higher die codes, but yeah. Size attack modifications. The +3 to attack with small weapons is excellent. I would have a larger penalty to attacking with large weapons, though. Maybe not applied to... No, even applied to missile weapons. Rogues with longbows, you know, that doesn't fit how they tend to travel, you know, tighter and more compact. So they should have a bigger penalty, I would say. -2 or even -3. It's really something they feel uncomfortable with, having a large, unsubtle weapon. Whereas, give them something that they can really use and use well because of familiarity, and it's a thought. This is going to be a lot. It's going to be plagued with dealing with balancing out all the different abilities and such. That's mechanics, though. That's the fun part. Well, it's fun for math people. Bloody Bastard. That's fine. I don't like the name, but it's a good ability for a rogue. More blood, more bleeding. Criminal activity, again, define that as not murder, so things like breaking and entering and stuff would be fine. Like saving throw bonuses, although I want to change the name, give it something a little more impactful. Bloodletter, weird. Again, I'll still say that's an odd one, but if we put it down to a right that they learn, sacrificing a little bit of their own blood to make sure that their weapons draw that extra blood out, I like that. It fits the world. Makes sense. Small weapon fighter, increase this weapon to... Okay, that I guess qualifies for my suggestion. I forgot about that you already had that built in as an advance, and that's fine. The extra +1 to hit, remember, all these things are going to be adding up, so unless your target defenses are on an average going to be +7, +8, +9, +10. All these bonuses are going to make things with relatively low defenses pretty trivial. So, I'm definitely going to have to make up some characters and do some testing on this. But just in my head, some of these numbers are sending up some yellow flags. Not red flags, but yellow flags. Sneak attacking is awesome. Vandalize is interesting, and I like it. It's not bad. So, it's cool. Okay, we get to equipment. This is where I, with the last one, stopped. Just about here. From what you had taken off. I had then started to make another video, and now I see that you've changed it, so now we're going to go into new stuff. As far as costs of things, some of your costs are interesting. I like the idea of the different costs for city, for rural. I don't think it should be as dramatic as double. Depends on your economy. It's your world. I like the idea of silvered weapons being right in there, enforcing the fact that it's a strange world, and oftentimes silver weapons are not a luxury but a necessity for some opponents, and that's cool. 0 level damage, I like that you include that. I think it's hilarious, though, that you have small melee as doing more damage for a 0 level person than... Oh no, I guess that's melee versus range. So you're ranged. You're keeping the cleric down to 0 level, and that's cool. No, that's fine. That's all. That's good. I would recommend having. I like how you have generalized weapons. I think you should have some selection to help with the narration and character creation steps. So you don't need to break it out as long and as broad as Dungeons and Dragons does, which has a much more tactical feel than your game is shooting for. But I think having a few more weapon choices and selections would be advantageous to you. That being said, I do like this quite a lot. Your general equipment, interesting. There are certainly some tiny items that can be very, very valuable. I don't know if I agree with the generalized thing for this part. But for brevity and simplicity's sake, I'm fine with it. Not too offensive. I do like a good equipment list, though. So, there's that. Also, a large item, a 10-foot pole is large, but I wouldn't pay, 10 gold for it. Just a thought. Sometimes size alone does not a good value give you. Because I would want to spend a gold and get a 10-foot pole. Or, sorry, 10 gold. Because I want a 10-foot pole. 10-foot poles are awesome. I've got my halfling. Yeah. I have my halfling 10-foot pole right here, so it always comes in handy for keeping my players in line. I don't really beat my players. I really like the picture of the guy who's been riddled through with arrows. That's cool. Okay, we get to combat. I would have a bigger differentiation between your combat section, which reaches to the end of your character creation. Honestly, the equipment section is the last step of your character creation, but it's kind of an important reference point outside of character creation too, so maybe have something that differentiates those more significantly. Right now you don't have any chapters in this, so maybe break those into chapters might be a good idea. Combat. Okay. Attack critical hit. I would just have the mechanics of how to attack somebody first before you start talking about criticals and fumbles. Explain success ranges. That is a really good mechanic in your system. Explain how you use it. Explain how it's done. And an attack roll, I would say figure out the strength modifier plus the class and size bonuses plus magic or any other miscellaneous things minus defense. Just do it all at once. Minus the defense of your target. Otherwise, you are having this nebulous thing going on here where they will roll and like, I succeeded. You'll have to have them call out how much they succeeded by. I succeeded by blank. And that doesn't really fit a range like you have set up with your success range. That fits a target number system. So, if you want to do this, I would say, with simple math, strength modifier, or your statistic modifier, whatever modifies whatever you're doing, plus your class and size. We got rid of skills. Yeah, on a D10, there's not a lot of extra room. If you keep throwing bonuses and bonuses and bonuses, your number target, your ranges are going to have to be penalized frequently and often to bring them down so that die rolls aren't trivial. So I'm fine with you getting rid of skills, but you know, you're still the haves are going to have an awful lot. Those who don't have are going to have a lot of almost feudal seeming rolls. It's going to take some tweaking. But I would get people used to the idea of taking the things that stand against the success of what they're doing, immediately subtracting from their defense, or directly taking away from their success range. If you were going to keep success range, that's how I would do it. So that should go right here under attack roll, melee, strength modifier plus class and size plus other miscellaneous bonuses, magic, location, what have you, minus defense of the target is your chance of success rolling against a 1d10. Same thing for ranged, but with dexterity. Same thing for magic, but with your magic identifier statistic. Either intellect, intelligence, or wisdom. Actually, no. This is what I would do. Just take away wisdom completely. For mages, yes, your intellect can affect your check, but after invoking any other magic that effect would take place, maybe on luck. It's not you who's doing it. It's your gods that are doing it. So, it's a thought. Just a thought. Just hit me. So, bleeding per round, punctures and slashing, inflicting bleeding. I like it. I like people having to think, oh my gosh, I'm actually dying here. I better fix this. I'm perfectly fine. If you like randomness so much, maybe have a number of bleeding points taken away by a successful, again, healing skill roll. You don't have skills. You took the skills out. So, you know, maybe it's a luck, maybe it's intelligence, maybe it's wisdom, your call. Either wisdom by just kind of knowing what'll work, or intelligence because you've been trained in it, or luck just because you're like, plug it up and hope for the best. Maybe leave it up to the player, how they choose to do it. Do you do it because you know how to sew up wounds? Do you do it because you're just put as much cloth between the open air and where the blood is coming out and hope it coagulates? Or luck, you know, just going to take this cow patty, slap it on there, and if you live, you live, and you die, you die. So, if you're getting rid of skills, replace it with an attribute then, I would say. Or healed with magic. You know, one of those magic things could be stop blood loss. Obviously, we're going to have a better name for it, but that could be a really big thing in this game and a real reason to have a cleric around. Not just for, you know, restoring you, but for stopping you from getting worse. That's a big thing in this game. From the mechanics you've got, it's a good system. Let's face it, it's also a system that may cause some people to turn away, because that's more to keep track of, or it makes it deadlier, but yeah. Brawling grappling, small melee damage equals brawling damage. I'm fine with that. More so to the point, I would also say that a person who is being grappled for damage needs to break out of being grappled, or they'll continue to take damage, meaning that they're helpless. That in a lot of situations is just as bad as anything else. If you're being bent like a pretzel, getting out of that grasp becomes a rather important thing. Charging, -2 to your defense, giving you a +1. Is that +1 to attack or +1 extra attack? You should differentiate. Equipment should be splintered. Don't like this. Basically, you're saying that all of your gear is ablative to prevent you from having to sacrifice stats. Trivializes the sacrifice. Just saying. I would say that some threats should mandate that items carried on the outside of your person be sacrificed, be lost, depending on how your saving throw goes. But I don't like the idea that you can take a blow and let your equipment die. I just don't like it. You already have armor, helmet, and shield taking damage from doing their jobs. So that's already kind of covered. Your weapon, keeping track of weapon durability is a hassle, and it's a convention that not doing it is kind of a convention, and I like that. I could possibly see using your weapon as a shield and letting it take a blow that you know will break it. That I could kind of see. But as much as that, I could see letting the weapon break be as much a difference between burning a point of luck and exhausting a point of luck too. These are things to think about. But if you say, oh, no, that coil of rope I had on my back, he hit me and he broke my rope, darn it. I just don't think it. Don't like it. I don't think a person's gear should be, because then you know you're going to have, how are we going to identify an 18 inches of blood character? They're the people who have all the random shit all over their body to take blows for them. We don't want that. Flanking, I'm fine with. The extra damage is kind of a full extra d6. I don't know. Not fond of it. Not terrified of it. It's fine. Certainly, you want as many advantages to piling up as is reasonable, but yeah, I'm fine with it. Friendly fire. Okay, this is what I don't like. I don't like averages, and I don't like purely random things. This is what I would do with this. I would say firing into a melee combat is difficult. You get a -1 penalty for every target around your target. So if you've got 5 people in a big fight and you're trying to shoot one of them, you're going to have a -4 to hit. If you miss by 1 to 4, you will have hit one of them. Therefore, you make the mechanics be a part of the process rather than just averaging out and whoever you hit, you hit. I really not a huge... because then nobody will fire into a combat because your skill is completely indeterminate of who you're going to hit. A person who is really good at shooting things is still going to have an excellent chance of hitting, an equal chance of hitting any of their friends, no matter how much they try to aim away from that. I don't like it. Now, don't get me wrong, I believe that for most people in a realistic situation, if you have a bow and you have people who are in melee combat, you would not be shooting into that. If you care at all about any of the people in it, you wouldn't try that. But at the same time, cinematically, how many times have you seen in movies, a guy is holding a hostage and he gets shot from behind the hostage? It wasn't because he had a 50-50 chance of hitting the hostage or hitting the person. That person is just that good. So, just saying, this is something that comes to my mind. So yeah, that's my feelings on friendly fire. Hit locations. Do you have any mechanical parts? I mean, you're like, they are just included for gory descriptive flavor, which is fine. This is a game about flavor and it's about gore and such. If you're going to go to the effort though of having this, you might want to assess some sort of penalties. I'm just saying, if somebody takes a 15-point blow to the head, they're probably not going to be acting just hunky-dory. If somebody takes a 15-point slashing blow to the arm that they are wielding their weapon in, they're probably not wielding their weapon as well. If you're going to have any possibility of having rules like that, it's not a bad idea. But if you're not, well, you're really just admitting that this is for flavor, but just saying, it's a possibility. Especially if you have, criticals. You say, critical to the neck, you got a really good chance of decapitation or crushing a windpipe or something like that. Mooks and Minions, I love this. I loved it ever since I saw the idea on Minions on 4th edition D&D. That's great. When you're reduced to 1 blood point, you roll disadvantage, borrowing a mechanic from 5th edition. I like it, but I would say probably 1 blood point left is trivial. I would say you should have a capacity at like 1/5 of your maximum blood point pool, or maybe your last 5 points of blood. You're going to have this disadvantage that you're slowed and at death's door. That last 1 point, it's somewhat trivial. Somewhat. Just a thought. Pain penalties. I like pain penalties. The one thing, maybe give saving throws versus blood loss and pain. Creatures that are very large or very tough might not feel pain in the same way. Thereby just assessing, every time I club you with my mace, you are getting weaker. Sometimes that just isn't the case. If I go up to a cow with a real mace and I smack that thing on the rump, it's probably still going to trot away okay. It'll smart from it, but not in the same way that if I club somebody in the leg with that mace, they're not moving. It's a thought. I've never really thought about clubbing a cow with a mace before, and I'm not really feeling good about that. I like cows. Not just because I'm from Wisconsin. I'm not originally from Wisconsin, actually. I'm from Michigan, but still. Okay, side initiative, upkeep. Good call. Drain that blood. Declare spellcasting. I like that ever since that was a separate part of the combat from D&D, where they had spellcasting and missile fire to be completely separate. Sides rolling, it's a good initiative system. It works just fine. Some people may decry the fact that their characters who have high dexterities don't get any bonuses to hit first because of it, but it's fine. Initiative is always kind of a tricky thing anyhow. Ties should go to the person with the highest dexterity, though, I would probably stress. Or highest wisdom, depending on what you think. The person who mentally can react faster, I suppose, would work. Uh-oh. Oh, I got parry. Okay. Went down a little bit. I really don't like my laptop. Pain penalties, yes. Parrying, adding to your defense. Yeah, I don't know if... Maybe I've missed it, but I didn't see anywhere where you really referred to what defense does for you. Because you don't have target numbers being the defense. So I see the defense as being a penalty to your to-hit success range. To me, that makes sense. So, yeah. Just more thoughts. And that is the end of the combat section. Rinse and repeat. Da, 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 da. I would have the initiative system be one of the first things in combat. It just makes sense. It's the first thing that you do when you get into a combat scenario, so yeah, you should probably have that at the front rather than at the tail end. You know, some very nice art. And then we go to character advancement, gaining a character level. The fun points of playing a role-playing game. When you gain a new level, you note what special abilities the class grants to your character and jot them down on your character sheet. New abilities? Most of the classes get advances as you go. And again, you have the advances are random. So I don't like that. It's a particular thing I've talked about. I'm not fond of random as far as advancement goes. But honestly, again, you could explain it in World. Add your Constitution modifier to your blood pool bonus and give yourself at least 1 point. I'm fine with that. Small advances don't let you feel like Superman. That's a good system, and it works well for a lot of these games. It should work well for your game as well. Wow, that's... Whoa, where am I? Ah! Went up instead of down. I really hate this laptop. It doesn't work well for me. I need a mouse for it. Okay, so leveling up gives you more blood pool points, which is cool. Add 1 to a single stat. I hate random stat advances. Again, if you are going to leave it up to the caprices of a mad and inconsiderate god, fine. Say that then. But otherwise, random doesn't make sense. Now, if you're going to narrow it down so that it is applied on a separate chart by class, so that only those attributes that matter to the class are going to trigger. So, for example, fighter could be strength, dexterity, wisdom. Mage would be, intelligence, wisdom, maybe charisma. If they have to, plead with mad gods to give them stuff. Maybe being charismatic could be a boon. With rogues, it's dexterity, luck, maybe charisma, maybe intelligence. Narrow the pool. A fighter who gets his bonuses to his charisma when he never says anything and just speaks in grunts, for example, wouldn't make any sense. If you want luck to be one all the time, that's fine. The fact they survived may show that they are truly lucky. I don't know. But appearance increasing during the course of adventuring is... Gee, Borg, you look radiant. I don't like it. I really don't. Appearance should be one thing that never really advances. You only get uglier from adventuring, from the scarring that you get. So, yeah, I'm not a fan. Increasing stats, we increase the level of random stat, blah, blah, blah. We already kind of discussed the things that could increase your stats earlier on under the statistics. I wouldn't be specific with that, but just say during things that you do in game may also increase or reduce your statistics. These will be predetermined. They may allow rolls or they may not. Yeah. Boons. I like boons. Be wary. I think humans get boons as a class advantage if they are able to be gotten in other ways. It trivializes the class advantage. Unless boons are going to be of a different character than the human advances of just getting along with everybody. So, it's a thought. Experience points needed. It's low. I like it. I like having low experience totals rather than, tens and hundreds of thousands to millions. That gets tedious to look at. Likewise, I'm fine that they aren't perfectly even numbers going in multiples of 10, hundreds, and thousands. Not necessary. Your system works just fine. Experience points per session. You can do a desert bus, say. You get 1 experience point every session. That's it. That's the hardcore. In my game, you only get 1 experience point per session, period, if you showed up. Anyhow. Blank page. Art page. Divine magic. Okay. I like the idea of divine magic being pleading with a god for magic effects to happen. I don't like it as a set spell. I mean, I'm fine with it as a set spell, but I like for your system that it's not. I really like it. Selecting how powerful of a miracle, you may want to have some guidelines in that. What constitutes a first magnitude miracle, second magnitude, third magnitude, fourth magnitude. I would try to have other names than just miracles. Save miracles for the really big stuff. Turning the moon red. Have a shroud of darkness cover the earth. Those are miracles. Somebody not bleeding all over the place isn't as much of a miracle. Let's open up the thesaurus a little bit and find different things. I'll include my suggestions for that in the edit suggestions that I will eventually hand down to you. But yeah, as far as magnitude goes, the player should have some sort of a guideline. It's like, wow, he took a 15-point blood loss blow that's taking 3 blood points per round on his slashed arm. I mean, clearly an artery has been severed or something. I am a cleric. I have to decide how I'm going to handle this. Do I need a second magnitude spell to completely cure this? Will a second magnitude spell merely stop the blood? Will a first magnitude spell stop the blood loss? Will a first magnitude effect stop the blood loss? Will a second magnitude effect cure the damage? Will it take a 4th level effect to wave my hand over it and instantly he's perfectly fine as if he never took that blow? Those are the kind of mechanical things that we need to put in your game. So, yeah, it's going to take some work. Then the player tells the GM what kind of effect they wish to happen. It's up to the GM to adjudicate and interpret the results. So you're already admitting that it's kind of up in the air based on the GM. Then the GM is going to need those guidelines. The player should have some idea, though. And it probably shouldn't just be try it and see. But we're definitely going to have to flesh that out in the Game Master section. That's something that I don't think you really want to have up in the air. As your system has been so far, I think to keep it on keel, we need some guidelines and suggestions. Especially when you have "and the whim of the gods" in question. Yeah. Past actions of the cleric may affect this as well. Okay, then we go to your chart. Burning a random stat by 1. Again, there are some stats that should be no problem. I can see a person, a la the game Fable, a person's countenance changing as they are impacted by the magics around them is fine. Wasting their strength or their health. Yeah, no, there are... If your character just surrenders yourself to the magic and whatever happens, happens. Actually, I've kind of talked myself into being okay with this. However, I would say this. Possibly have a particular effect give a bonus that is more concrete. For example, if you offer up a fraction of your sanity to your gods, give them a +5 bonus, something significant. This is a huge undertaking, and if you're willing to let some of your mind slip, the darker gods will appreciate that sacrifice because that's something that you use all the time. Just saying, for divine channeling, if you're gonna really have evil gods, an evil world, something to think about. Having your holy symbol in hand, yes. Performing at a holy shrine, yes. Although I would stage that. A shrine is one thing. How about a cathedral? That should give a bigger bonus. PowerPoints used, get rid of that. I hate the idea of buying miracles anyhow. As much as I'm in love with the idea of using exhaustion and burning for magic, I'm even more in love with it for calling on the divines. I don't like the idea of just throwing garbage PowerPoints into something. Sacrificing a living being. Ramp that up. +1 for a small being? Are you talking for an animal? Then okay. You sacrifice a rabbit, you sacrifice a dove, +1. But for +2 for a large. Okay, a cow or a ram. Especially if it's tied in with that deity. Something that's, pleasing to that particular deity or power. Okay. An intelligent being +2 each, I'm thinking it's something that you should probably give a bigger bonus to because a lot of players are going to quail at it, except under extreme need. I think you need a bigger bonus to be more tempting for such an act that's contrary to what people think about. But here's the butt of this all. It should diminish by the number that you have. Like, say, for example, you sacrifice an intelligent being, +5 right there. You line up 10 people to be sacrificed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 2. And each one after that gives an additional point. It means that you can do incredible things if you have a line of sacrifices, but the shock value goes down after the first one. Now, some gods may, for example, be extra pleased by virgin sacrifices. Some of them may be more pleased with elven sacrifices. These are things that you can include, too. And honestly, if we're going to go this way, you're going to do any world building on this, have gods and what they like as sacrifices. Remember, Rob's words of wisdom, when in doubt, sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. Yes. All right. The power of the spell that you're going to do. Magnitude, magnitude, magnitude. I would have the top level ones be full-on miracles. Orison. I really wonder what the origin of that word is. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm fine with it, except it's taken directly out of D&D. I would whip out the thesaurus and look at all the other things other than miracles we can use and try to have a hierarchy of effects of the divine nature. Lowest level ones might be just a stirring, for instance. We go, an intervention to a miracle. Just a thought. But I think it's a solid idea. Might work out well for your game. And again, we're looking for things to kind of help differentiate your game from other ones, and these little details are all the things that help to do that. Then we get to magic and spells, the chunk of your game. Spellcasting in this system tends to be chaotic, dangerous, harmful, influenced by ambient energies, and risky. I love all of that in spellcasting. And I know a number of players who love that kind of thing in spellcasting too. See Wild Mages or Psychers in Warhammer 40k. Characters can harm themselves, yes. System uses a PowerPoint system. No, cut that out. I recommend. All of these are advice, by the way. If I say, just do this, I'm not telling you to do it because you're the creator. I'm just offering my advice, how I would do this. If I was given this in an editing capacity. Mages can cast a spell they know. Nice. Any spell can be cast as a ritual if they have enough time. They take longer. And they purchase the right material components or provide the right sacrifices given in the generic form of the cost of silver coins. You might also want to include lives. Let's really get into the sacrifice part of it. If it costs a life to cast a spell, And for example, wizards start carrying around a cage of live chickens on their back so they can pull one out and you have just made yourself another little step towards having your own little niche. Now how are you going to be able to tell a 18 inches of blood character from a D&D character? You're the one who has the cage of live chickens on your back that you're going to sacrifice to your dark gods. How awesome is that? So, but I like the preparatory sentence, or the paragraph. That's good. It's important to differentiate how magic is going to be different from the sanitary and sterile version of Dungeons and Dragons and the others. Okay, what do wizards have to do? Fine. Arcane casting, 1d10, add your intelligence, add power. We've killed power off, which is cool. We should probably, again, we're going to have to tinker with mechanics on this a little bit. Is it going to be intelligence and luck? Maybe intelligence and wisdom? Adding to that? Is it even needed? Is straight up intelligence useful? And maybe a spell focus ability so that you can hold a wand or an orb or a staff or halfling 10-foot pole and be able to cast your spells more effectively, giving you an extra bonus to your checks. It's a thought. Now we don't have power anymore, though, so the mechanics are going to have to change a little bit, probably. The miscellaneous modifiers, too. We're probably going to have a fairly robust selection of miscellaneous modifiers if you really want to add flavor to your spellcasting system. Need to have one hand free and empty to perform the gestural somatic components. Fair enough. Speak out loud to cast successfully. Cannot mask casting a spell as anything else. Yes! Magic should be ballsy as heck. Maybe they'll have an advantage where they don't have to be quite so loud. We can call it subtle spell casting so that they can mutter from a corner of the room, for instance. The giveaway will be when they're cutting the throats of rabbits and chickens, but that's hard to, that's hard to hide. So yes, but spilling blood. Also when you're stabbing yourself too. It's really be hard in your world to tell somebody who's emo from... additional spell modifiers. Covered in blood, +1. I like it. I do like it. Sacrifice, +1. We should have sacrifices, you know, stepped sacrifices very similar to what the priests have. 2 hands free, giving an extra bonus. Okay. Cool. No problems with that. Cantrips or 0 magnitude spells. What did we called clerical abilities magnitudes. I guess we can go with magnitudes for wizard spells if we're going to change the name. If we would change the names of the clerical levels, we could have magnitudes of magic spells. Something about that word doesn't really settle with me very well, but that's the old editor I am. Mage characters can cast a number of free cantrips a day equal to the power stat. We don't have a power stat anymore. Equal to intelligence, I'm fine with that. Especially if you have a couple that are weak attacks. That'll work, that's ammunition. Colors of magic. When casting a spell, a random source of energy magic will influence. Again, you and the random. Now here's a okay, I'm not gonna say it's a better idea, but here's a different idea that might speak well in your game. And, hear me out, it would have some stacked benefits to how you build your character. If you have the setting dictate the color of magic that is prevalent in your area, dark evil altars are, say, black. Wizards who specialize in black magic have an advantage when they're fighting in these kind of an environment. If it's random, then it's whimsical. It's, do I get a bonus or do I get a penalty? It's random. I think that if you have some tactical advantages, not, you know, to the point where you're drawing hexes and grids and stuff, but when you can say, you know, I've studied this kind of magic. I know of the magic of the black, and I am not weak here. You have something that ties in the personality of your character and this interesting mechanic of having different colors that influence the types of magic, which is a good idea. If you pull that from a different game, it's one I'm not familiar with, and I'm curious to know it. But then a mage's familiarity with the kind of magic may impact how effective their spells are there. If they're in an area that is inimical to their types of magic, like he's a mage of the white, and he's in a black temple, and he's like, oh, my magic is dampened here because the enemy rules here. That's, you know, interesting. Multiple magics that can influence spells. Sure, nothing's probably ever going to be pure black and white. For casters of one kind or another, they will probably seek to change their atmosphere and environment so that it matches the color of magic they're comfortable with. Or they will generally tend to gravitate to those areas. So a mage who is skilled in the blue magics is probably not going to be hanging out in a red magic node. That just stands to reason, really. He's not going to make his lair or his tower, his fortress, whatever, where the magic is working against him. If at worst he would be neutral, but he would probably seek out an area that magically either is or can be turned to match his aura. And I don't know if, let's put some logic into this. Different areas, like a desolate moor will have a perfectly different type of aura than a storm-lashed mountaintop. And of course, these things should change. There should be cycles. I agree. But random I don't like. You've heard me say this before. I'm not going to keep dwelling on it. When you cast a spell, you can draw colored dice or chits or pieces of paper from a bag to determine the source of it. I don't like it. I really don't like it. I think it should be changed. I think you should have a list of the different types of magic that are available and where they are primarily found. I think that would serve your needs a lot better. Black, evil, yeah, I'm good with that. Death, evil, combined, yeah, I'm cool. Brown, dust, earth, minerals, rocks, cool. Blue, air, mist, wind, cool. Light blue. How about white? I know it counters with black, and air and mist is not the opposite of death, but light blue and dark blue, and then you also have purple. Maybe try going with colors of the spectrum more. It's tough, but maybe yellow for air. I don't know. I know you already have white as positive energy, being divine. I don't know, though. Some of your gods might be pretty anti-white, if you know what I'm saying. But since you have white, and I don't believe, unless my computer is lying to me, I don't believe you use yellow. So maybe have yellow instead of light blue. It's a thought. Yellow's a nice color anyhow. Dark blue fluid, which is water. Cool. Gray, spells that do not draw from the environment or from planes of existence, draw from the self. Nice, that's a neat idea. These spells have a distinct flair that hints at the caster's interest personalities. The alignment of perfect neutrality can also affect the... I'm fine with that. I have a feeling there's some opportunities there, but we'll explore that a little later. Green, life, renewal. I would say the elements of wood and growing things. That's fine. Purple, strange outsider things. Yes. Very chthonic, Cthulhu-esque, chaos. I like it. I definitely like it. I like the flavor that gives. Red, adrenaline, aggression, anger, yes, fire, yes, I like it. And necessarily chaos? Sure. White, ambient energy, God and law, it's fine. That's fine. I don't like the random, though. I'd rather have lists of places where these elements would be the strongest. And also possibly a situation where there's the magical ambiance is so muddled that no one has ascendancy. Leave that as an option. Would be my suggestion. If a mage takes a blood point worth of damage that is not self-inflicted, yes, and this self-inflicted is certainly a possibility. The spell they're attempting to cast instantly fizzles unless they burn an amount of power points equal to... How about intelligence saving throw? It's just easy. Or burning a stat. Again, random stats I am not fond of. Why would you burn a point of strength to keep a spell going after you got pinged with a dart? Just doesn't. Intelligence or luck, I would say, but I don't see strength or constitution or anything else. PowerPoint costs, I don't like PowerPoints. Hiss, boo. Regenerating PowerPoints. Now we're going to exhaustion. If we're going to use exhaustion and we're going to use burning as the cost for casting spells, then you should have a separate section for exhaustion and dealing with it. Damage and recovery. You already kind of have that. You have the blood point recovery. You'll want to have an exhaustion one. When you wake up, do you restore all of your exhaustion? Or do you restore part of it? So you really have to mete out how much you are going to spend and not just count, yeah, we're just going to rest, so I'm going to get it all back. Maybe. That depends on what balance you want. This is a you thing. Ritual spellcasting. Ornery mages sometimes include incorrect steps in their book to protect their property. Yay. Any spell can be cast as a ritual by any character, including classes that can't cast them. They take longer, yes. Require 100 silver coins worth of material to cast the spell. Interesting. Cantrips cost 20 silver pieces. Maybe not all spells can be cast as rituals. Some don't make sense. If anybody can cast fireballs, sieges get kind of weird. Because then it's actually cheaper to get a row of first level schmucks, give them 100 or say 300 silver coins worth of materials and have them just bathe the parapets of the castle in fireballs. Just saying, that's... Some things may work really well for that, for rituals. Some things, maybe not. But again, it's a flavor of the world, so I'm not opposed to it. Just something to think about. And taking 4 hours to cast, too. So 3 hours of standing there and casting would be a little tricky. A character that has a spellcasting class can choose to burn 1 point of random attribute to make up 200 silver coins of this cost. That'll never happen. It's not worth putting in. Nobody's going to do that. I'm just going to assure you that nobody ever is going to do that. And looks like I have to, real quick, plug in my computer, or it will run out of juice. I've been doing this for a while. There we go. Monster parts and bits being used for ritual components. Yes! Love it. That should be done much more often. A bestiary should include targeted things to be harvested. Absolutely. Okay, cost. Everything needs a cost, huh? I don't like the table with just a set cost for everything because it's going to make magic a little bit more prohibitive. Unless, of course, you are letting them harvest everything, which means that if they can go into the wilderness for a while, they can get several silvers worth of components at a time. That is something that should be well illustrated through your mechanics. Otherwise, if it's just cash money in order to cast a cantrip, cantrips are supposed to be really cheap and easy and can be flung out at a moment's thought. If you don't like that idea, that's fine, but I really would probably do that. Are you changing things on me already? Thing just scrolled up. Interesting. So anyhow, yeah, hot dog, you are changing things on me. All right. Costs on things, having set amounts of money to cast a spell. Not a huge fan. But moving on. If that's your costs in order to cast the spell, then you have changed that from your description of a character. A 4th magnitude spellcasted ritual would cost 400 silver pieces worth of stuff and sacrifices and take 4 hours to cast, but on your table you say a 4th magnitude would cost 810 silver and take 5 hours. So I don't like it. But you know, saving throw magnitude modifier versus spells. Low powered spells are easy to resist as the magnitude of the spells increases. Yes, I like it. I like it a lot. All saving throws include your luck modifier as well as another stat modifier that fits the situation. Okay. Cantrips give a bonus, otherwise a penalty. Remember, you're stacking things on top of things. And so, you know, looking at, you have a 1 for your saving throw, plus your luck bonus, say a 2, that's average, and plus another stat, say dexterity to avoid that fireball, that's 2, plus 3. So say that fireball is a 2nd magnitude spell, that gives a -2 penalty. So you have a success range now of 1 to 3 to avoid that fireball. You have a 30% chance of avoiding the effects of that fireball. That's not too bad. If somebody is going to throw a level 4 Death Storm at you, 4th magnitude, -4 penalty there you have. That person has no chance to avoid it at such a low level. And remember, the attributes can increase, but they're more likely to decrease. Therefore, the chances of somebody having a fairly reasonable chance against really powerful magics is pretty slender. And for most people, a -4 is just going to devastate. No chances of avoiding except rolling a 1. Just something to think about. Alright. Clearly these are mechanics, and mechanics are something we're going to be wrestling with a bit, I think. A list of spells can be found in one of the appendices. Time needed to cast. Number of rounds equal to the magnitude of the spell. Can spend blood points on a 1-to-1 basis to reduce the rounds it takes. Awesome. Love it. I really want to crank out this 4th level spell. Cut it open. 3 points of blood. Love it. Your blood sizzles away and fireball. Or what have you. Burning stats by using spell burn points are another way to reduce the time. Sure! By burning a chosen stat by point or using a spell burn point, casting it in a single round. Yes, I like it. I like that a lot. Oh, you're really changing things, aren't you? Okay. Appendix A, Mage Spells. I like that you have cool names for things that kind of look like they've been taken off of edgy high school band names. No, I'm just kidding. It's cool. It's cool. I would not go down the line, and this is going to take a bit more work. I would not go down the line and crib the D&D spells. I know it makes it a lot easier to have ranges and effects and everything else if you cop from another system. But I think, in my mind, it is easier and better if you would go with name of the spell, what it does, site, what can be sacrificed to feed that spell, and we could work on a format like that and then just fill it. I don't think you need to have huge spell lists for this. As a matter of fact, it would be a great thing to have an extra added resource afterwards if you're going to continue to support this book, to have a dark tome of magic with more spells, taking more time, yes, but giving a more complete selection of spells for the itinerant mage. Darker, creepier, yes, but I think you can hit the highlights of what you're going for with just 5 to 10 spells per order of magnitude. I don't think you need to have huge amounts. Just make sure that you keep the tone appropriate. Have a spell description, have a description of what the spell does, so that you can help the game master in his mind narrate the effects, and also give the players a clear idea of the effect that they're going to generate with that spell. It'll make magic mysterious, it'll make magic compelling, and people will really want to see these effects come to life. It will also make people more willing to sacrifice to cause these effects to come to play. So, just some ideas. Strongly suggested ideas in this case. Because I think you're kind of cheaping out on yourself if you avoid that. But otherwise, yes, most of your spells look like they could be Lamentations of the Flame Princess type titles. So, I think that's what you're going for. Lots of fun art. Several pages worth of art. It's good art. I like where you get your stuff. Additional names without spell details. Dimensional chest cavity. Crush their feeble muley. I love your names. I do. I love the names of the spells. These cry out to be made into something. But you know what? I wouldn't do it here. Like I said, an extra book. The Tome of Black Magic. Then you can go into all these spells and give them names. I wouldn't leave them up to the players to do it. That's just not what I recommend. You could do a lot more. Now we have a lot more art. We get to Appendix B. Spell descriptions. This is how I think you should do your magic. And it's well done. Casting time, color affinity, components, duration. I also like how the auras of magic may impact how, your spells work. That should be in the mechanics for successfully casting a spell. If your color is ascendant, it should give you a bonus. If your color is absent, it should give you a strong penalty. And if your opposing element is an ascendancy, it should give a lesser penalty, but if it hasn't completely snuffed out yours. So somebody who is into white magic going into a black temple that is full of black magic should have significant penalties making their magic work. That is colorful, and that is an obstacle to overcome. It also gives you the advantage to go questing for holy artifacts that can nullify that effect. So always keeping an aura of white magic around you so your spells work. Just saying, these are possibilities that your game evokes. Duration, magnitude, these are all solid things. I have no problems for the most part. Your spells are solid because they all come from a solid background. I would like to darken it up a lot. Really impress the aura. Some of them are just a little too clinical. But the things that are unique to yours do have excellent attention to narration for what you've got now. The coagulated wings is just horrific. There were a couple that made me go, ooh, that's dark, but I like that. That's good. You need that for this game. And clearly you've got templates open up so that you can continue on that process, which is fine. You have more art, magic items, which simply says the art is lost, magic items, which is fine. Can be used by any type of character. Most items require a loss of blood points. Awesome. Sacrifice to make the magic work. I like it. It occurs to me that there's the flavor of your world is a little bit Melnibonean from Moorcock's world. I could definitely see Stormbringer into this world. It would seem to fit perfectly. The idea of devouring souls to give you energy, cover for your magic. It really does seem to fit. The Game Master section. Okay. Due to the internet, there are a plethora of freely available sources of advice, tips, tricks, styles, and techniques that you can experiment with to see what works. No, dude. No. You have been doing this for far too long to not be able to hammer out something to help game masters out. Cribbing other people's, again, I can't emphasize enough, I dislike that highly. I know what your intent was. You just want to make something that other gamers will use, but this is a turnoff. It's a real turnoff that you didn't do that work. It's something that should be done. You should have a little bit on how to game master your work, especially since your atmosphere and your flavor are so very different. Get out there, play, run games, and set your imagination free. Fly. No, you can do better than that, and we will do better than that. If you let me continue helping you, I want that. The Game Master section should be a real thing, not just a tacked on end. And that's it. That's the end of it. I've covered everything in your book, all the suggestions that I would say should be done, could be done. Clearly the magic was unfinished. So you have a good idea of the spells that you want in your game. I suggest thinking of the effects that you like and staggering them by magnitude, how important they are. And then we'll write up you should write up some samples of those. And like I said, 5 to 10 per order of magnitude. You don't need much more than that. If you're going to make this stuff seem weird and unsettling, you don't need to shoot the farm. You just need enough to give the players a flavor for it. Maybe give them some ideas on how they can craft their own and whatever dark gods they have to pledge to get that to happen. And then you can satisfy that need by adding things at a later date, either with another edition or with a separate add-on. And I strongly suggest the latter. So that's it. Those are my suggestions. Now, I've said a lot of critical things. I will say this, Tim. I think, from the bottom of my heart, this is good enough to be categorized in the same atmosphere, the rarefied air of Lamentations of the Flame Princess. You have enough unique stuff that is your own, and you have something that can invoke very much a different style of roleplay than almost any game. You go farther out than Lamentations of the Flame Princess in terms of personal sacrifice. It's not just stumbling across something that's mind-numbingly horrible or awful. It's that you're willing to do things that are mind-numbingly awful. And the mechanics are there for you to choose to do those things. That's something that Lamentations doesn't. They're reacted on. Yours is about making the sacrifices, not just seeing horrible sacrifices and, oh my gosh, you're cleaning this up or what have you. So, yeah, as far as I've seen, I believe very strongly in your project, and I do want to continue to help you. So if you accept that help from me and you put in the work yourself to work towards making this a complete project and not just a passion project that flames out, you've got a lot of work done. There's a lot more to do, but I will help you with editing and suggestions. Whatever limits you want. You want to make me a partner? That's cool. You just want me to be an editor for you? That's cool too. I'll give you suggestions and help either way. But I believe in your project. You've sold me, and I've seen a lot of crap. Yours is not crap. It's got a lot of good things, but it needs mechanical work. It needs some more output. It needs some organization, yes, but what's there is good, and if we grow from that, I think you got a winner. So, thank you for letting me be a part of this. I hope this finds you well, and I will look forward to hearing from you the next step, but I'll continue to work on the edits, and since you've changed it, I'm going to have to redo a lot of the edits, so it's going to slow me down a little bit, but I'm not afraid of work. So, I'll talk to you later. Thank you again. Farewell.